Welcome to r/Am I the Jerk, where Karen completely loses it because OP doesn't have any vegan food at her wedding. Am I the jerk for not having catered vegan food at my wedding? I, 27 female, got married recently. I invited my friend, 27 female, and her partner, and she was excited to come along. They live in another country, a 3.5-hour flight away, so coming isn't easy or cheap for them. We asked 7 months before the wedding about dietary needs, and she told us her and her partner would need vegan options. Since my dinner included veggie options, I wrongly assumed that the caterer would also do vegan ones. But when I asked 1.5 months before the wedding, I learned they couldn't. I should have asked earlier. Unfortunately, some things came up and delayed our prep. I informed my friend, saying that I was sorry, initially asking her if she had ideas about what we could do. Maybe I was in the wrong there. And then offering to cook something myself or buy something from a supermarket. But the conversation turned quite cold, and the next day, she said she decided not to come to the wedding or to the bachelorette that was happening the following week, even though there was no catering issue there. She said her decision was final, and we could speak after the wedding, as she didn't want to upset me the day before. After a couple of days, I asked if she could help me understand her decision, and she said that she found it disrespectful that I didn't have a suitable vegan option for her and her partner so close to the date, even though they told me with plenty of notice. I felt extremely hurt and blindsided, especially since I feel she didn't give me a chance to find a solution together. I kind of understood not coming to the wedding, even though I'm vegetarian and attended plenty of weddings that we didn't have veggie options, but that's her call. But not skipping the bachelorette, since we could easily have planned for vegan food. Now I'm not sure I want to be friends with her anymore. Am I the jerk? Some bits of context. There were no restrictions at our venue for bringing home-cooked or outside food. I genuinely thought a home-cooked meal was a nice option, but I'm seeing that many of you think otherwise. Our dinner was a type of food with a base and toppings, and there was no other type of food available as the caterers specialize in that, but it caters to most since you can just choose the toppings. I knew for sure it was vegetarian, didn't know they couldn't or wouldn't want to make a separate vegan batch. I told my friend about this casually over text while we were discussing the bachelorette. I now see that I probably shouldn't have mentioned it until I could give her more detail in a call. I thought it would be nice to keep her in the loop and know what she preferred, but I now see that that probably made her feel like a burden, which I'm very sorry about. Overall, I understand that the biggest mistake I made was clearly leaving it so late to sort it out. The second and most stupid mistake was bringing up supermarket food, which obviously isn't a viable option. And the third mistake was telling my friend about it and asking for her input, as it probably made her feel like a burden. I will now wait and see if she wants to reach out and take things from there if she does. You're the jerk. You asked about their dietary needs. You told her that you could accommodate her. I have a hard time believing you didn't know the difference between vegetarian and vegan. You should have clearly asked the caterer about vegan options. Truthfully, if you simply didn't ask her about her dietary needs, I would have ruled different. I didn't ask any of my wedding guests about their needs. I just had 3 options that were on the wedding invite, so no one was surprised what food would be there. If anyone declined because of the food, I would have had no way of knowing. Everyone sucks here. You should have been more specific and checked with the caterer earlier. Since they couldn't accommodate your guests, you should have arranged for specific meals for your friend and her partner to be catered by a third party to make up for your mistake. That's on you. She should have been a little more cooperative and less reactive. But honestly, it sounds like the bonds of your friendship were weaker than each of you had thought. There doesn't seem to be much real affection or caring about the other one, and there seems to be a lot of excessively hurt feelings at the other's acts or omissions. You're the jerk for not communicating with your caterer properly and thinking a supermarket-bought food will be the same level as food served by them. Definitely your friends are not beggars that you serve them second-class food while others get better ones. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her friend? Please let us know.
I'm a cakein. I only go to weddings where they serve cake. No cake, no me, no exceptions.
Would I be the jerk if I asked a member of the wedding party to wear something to cover their hair? I'm getting married this fall. One member of the wedding party has neon yellow-green hair and has said they plan on keeping that color for the foreseeable future, including for the wedding. I did not know this person had dyed their hair until after I'd asked them to be in the wedding party. They've dyed their hair a few times in the past, but never their whole head. More of just highlights and low-key stuff, but never a color this bright, so honestly, I just didn't see it coming. Everyone else has more muted colors of hair, and the dresses and tuxedos are also on the grayscale, so it's going to stand out. I know it's just hair, it's their choice, and I'm trying to be as respectful as possible. However, I also frankly don't want to look at my wedding pictures for the rest of my life and have the first thing I notice be their neon hair. It seriously draws the eye. Some ideas we've come up with to mitigate this. 1. Make all the photos of the wedding party in black and white. 2. Ask the photographer to edit this person's hair to a not neon yellow-green color, which may also be a jerk move. Still feel weird about that. Opinions are welcome. Or 3. The option someone proposed that I'm really conflicted about. Ask the person to wear a wide lace headband or a wrap that covers most of their hair and style it pulled back so that it's more or less tucked away for most of the pictures. If it matters, we bought and rented dresses and tuxedos for everyone and would pay for this accessory too. And we're paying for hair to be done professionally for the wedding party, because if I'm going to ask people to look a certain way for an event for me, I don't want to then force them to pay for it. But I can't tell if this would be taking my input a step too far. It was a little awkward when I asked how long they were planning to keep their hair neon, and I just asked coming from a place of curiosity, not asking specifically about the wedding, so I think they might get mad at me if I ask them to more or less hide it. Would I be the jerk if I asked this person to wear a hairpiece or a style that covers most of their neon hair for my wedding? Edit. I'm asking, would I be the jerk for asking them to consider a hairpiece, not telling them this is what I want or they'll be out of the wedding? If they're not comfortable with the hairpiece, then I'll ask how they'd feel if there was editing or color balance adjustments to the photos to tone it down. And if that's still a no, then we'd just pick black and white photos. We get one professional album with our photography pack, so we just make the whole thing black and white photos. We'd still have digital copies of all of the photos in color and not. Just the ones we'd hang in our house and stuff would probably be black and white. No one is getting kicked out of the wedding for how they look. No one is going to be forced to do anything. Do you think they won't tone it down for the wedding? OP. They have an important event shortly after the wedding, so I was like, oh hey, what are you thinking hair-wise for that event? And they were like, oh, definitely keeping it this way. So I know for a fact this will be the color it is. If they had planned to dye it less neon for that event anyway, I was just going to ask if they'd be willing to make the switch before the wedding. Obviously, I can't ask them to dye their hair. I was only hoping they might want to change anyway, given they might not want it neon for the other event. But especially since they want it neon for that after the wedding, I know it's neon for sure. Do you have a response ready for if she says no? No jerks here. Either way, it's your wedding. You can do what you want. But just curious, is this more of a question or an ultimatum? You're the jerk. If you're picking your wedding party based on aesthetics, drop this person. If you chose this person based on a relationship, the person comes hair and all. Explaining yourself is an option which may bring a favorable outcome. However, it's possible to lose your relationship. OP. It's not a matter of being in or out of the wedding party. This person is in the wedding party no matter what. Even if they decided to shave the sides and have a hot pink and black mohawk day of, I'd be irked, but we'd roll with it. Update 6 months later. My wedding day was amazing. I'm so glad to not only be married, but also to be done with wedding planning because it was a lot. Some people said I was shallow to even care about the hair in pictures at all, and yeah, I probably am. I accept that. The hair does stand out a lot in the color pictures, and the person had their natural roots, which looked absolutely awful. I'm not going to lie, I found it incredibly rude they dyed their hair neon and then didn't even bother to make sure it was maintained for being in a wedding. But in black and white, everything looks totally fine, and I love black and white pictures anyway. They also got married a bit after my wedding. The jerk voice in my head couldn't help but note that they bothered to get their roots done for their own wedding. I complained to my husband a bit in our hotel room after the rehearsal, got it out of my system, had a great time at their wedding. I guess all this to say, whether or not it would have been a jerk move to ask them to cover their hair, as people pointed out, it wasn't worth it. The hair did bother me. I am a little shallow, I am a little selfish, but it wasn't as big of a deal as I was making it out to be. It was better to keep all shallow, selfish, and jerk thoughts to myself and my husband, work on acceptance and move on. Writing this is my closure. I will spare no more thoughts or energy for the neon hair. Thank you all for helping me find perspective. Edit. Just to clarify some questions I've seen come up, since people have cared enough to message me about it. Were our weddings far apart enough? I paid for everything I could to help take off the burden. Dresses, tuxedos, hair, even offered people places to stay if they didn't want to do it hotel. If they had told me it was a money issue, I'd gladly have paid for the roots to be done too, if they told me they needed help. I know people are in various financial situations. I told my wedding party if there were any financial challenges coming up in being a part of my wedding to please tell me and I would help because I didn't want it to be a burden. I think when you are in a wedding, you're agreeing to maintain your appearance and hygiene for that day. You're going to shower before, you're going to brush your hair and teeth, you're going to do what you need to do to be presentable. In my perspective, if you dye your hair a very attention-grabbing color that differs dramatically from your natural hair color, then you make sure the dye job looks decent and well done and not an inch grown out, and that's part of looking presentable for a formal event. The weddings were months apart. They got their roots touched up not too long after my wedding, and then again the weekend of their wedding. I felt it was rude because it was clear the person did consider it something important to do for the other event in their life, just not for my wedding. And that to me shows a lack of care, especially when again, I would have paid for it. Additionally, I was in their wedding and paid for my dress and for their bachelorette party. They did not contribute to or come to mine. And you know what? All of that is fine. They're well in their right to do whatever they want with their money and their hair. It just all added up and I found it rude. It is what it is with respect to that friend. I am unbelievably happy with my wedding day and my black and white pictures, and I'm so grateful to be married and to have had all my friends by my side for the day, regardless of their hair. Am I the jerk for telling my husband that I would never have agreed to have his baby if I knew he would go back on our agreement? I, 36 female, am a neurologist, and I absolutely love my patients and my job. I believe there's no greater honor in life than being able to help others. The road to my medical degree was not easy, and it was paved with many rejections. I was a troubled teen in high school, and I didn't get accepted into any colleges my senior year. I had to work my way up, starting with remedial classes at my local community college. When I finally got into medical school at 26, I was absolutely thrilled. I met my husband, 37 male, in my third year of medical school. We've been married for 4 years now. My husband works in marketing, and I make 3 times his salary. From the beginning of our relationship, I was very upfront that I was unsure about having biological kids. My dream was always to adopt from foster care, and my husband seemingly understood this. However, after his best friend had a baby boy last year, he began to really press me on having kids. I was initially very against this idea because I was just beginning my career. I wanted to wait a few more years before revisiting the topic of having kids. In August of last year, I found out I was unexpectedly pregnant. I was initially considering not having it, but after many heartfelt conversations with my husband, we decided to keep the baby, and he would quit his job and stay home until our daughter was old enough to start preschool. There were several factors that went into our decision to have him stay home with our daughter. I make significantly more money than him, so financially, it just made more sense. I'm in the first few years of my career as an attending physician. After 4 years of med school and a 4-year residency, I'm just starting to practice on my own, whereas my husband has been in his career for 15 years. I was very clear I had absolutely zero desire to stay home and be a housewife. I respect stay-at-home mothers, but my work is my life, and I would go crazy at home all day. This just isn't a lifestyle I want whatsoever. Finally, I'm not comfortable putting my kid in daycare until she's old enough to talk. Our daughter is 9 weeks old today, and I'm preparing to return to my practice in a few weeks. This weekend, I left my husband alone with our daughter while I attended a medical conference out of state. The conference was amazing, but when I returned home, my husband began acting weird. Today, when our daughter was napping, I pressed him to tell me what was wrong. He absolutely broke down and said he doesn't think he can do this. He expressed how trapped, alone, and overwhelmed he felt all weekend. He now wants me to extend my maternity leave and is talking about trying to get his job back. This made me freak out, and I asked, "Well, what will we do with our daughter now?" He responded by suggesting I leave my practice and work from home. I said absolutely not, and he suggested daycare. At this point, I just lost it and screamed, "If I knew you were going to back out of your promise to take care of our daughter, I would have never had your baby." I know I completely overreacted, and I would never trade our daughter for anything. I love her so much, but I am so upset with my husband, and I'm not sure how to move forward at this point. Not the jerk. You expressed boundaries and rules, and he's crossed them. Stick to your boundaries. If he's unwilling, consider how important that boundary is to you and how far you're willing to enforce it. A kid isn't something someone can be so flippant over, and "I changed my mind" is unacceptable if he's the one that pushed for it in the first place. Also, economically, it makes no sense. Not the jerk. You didn't overreact. He needs a wake-up call. You only gave him something so enormous and major, his own biological kid, because he promised not to destroy your career and trap you as a mother. Now he's discovering that raising a kid is non-stop hard work and something you were aware of before you ever got pregnant. Quite frankly, he only has 2 paths forward. Either he can be a stay-at-home dad and have all the support of a working spouse who comes home to share parenting, or you can divorce him and he can be a single father who gets child support. But he can't trick you into having his kid and then claim that it's too hard to be a father, so you have to give up your life and dreams in order to become a supporting character of his dreams. Am I the jerk for pretending to be in the hospital to avoid my ex on Father's Day? I, 25 female, am currently 5 months pregnant with my ex-husband. Gotta love American Midwest early marriages. It's not like we hate each other, but our relationship did not end on good terms, and I quite literally had to leave our home in the middle of the night because every time I tried to leave him, he would beg me to stay and I would give in. I just knew I couldn't raise a baby with him, so I had to do a runner. We got married at 19 and 23, and we're currently 25 and 29. Anyway, my dad and I do not speak, so my tradition on Father's Day was to hang out with my ex. Even before we were together, as we've always known each other growing up. Even though we're splitting, he's been insistent on taking me out this Father's Day since he's going to be a father this year, and he considers it his first Father's Day. The issue here is, he still had feelings for me, and he wants me to take him back, and every time I try to see him, for doctor's appointments or lawyer meetings, he begs me to take him back, and it's just not nice. I told him a few times, like at least 10, that I was not going to see him this Father's Day because my family has started a tradition of doing a big family cookout for Father's Day. I told him that I wasn't comfortable going out because being pregnant, I get sick all the time, and I told him I didn't think it was right for us to be going out together anymore since we're exes. He's asked to come to the cookout, which is a no-no because my older brother is crazy. He said that he would pop by with a gift, and I turned that down. Eventually, I got the message he wasn't taking no for an answer, no matter what. I lied and told him that the cookout was actually going to be held 3 hours away at my uncle's ranch, and he said, "Bet, I'll drive over in the evening and see you." This was the night before Father's Day, so my hands were tied. This is where I may be the jerk. I waited until morning and then said that I had thrown up so much the night before that my mom took me to the hospital and I was being treated for dehydration. I said it was a minor issue, but I was going to be kept all day and I couldn't make it. My brother was in on it and volunteered to be the person who kept him updated all day on my condition. Turns out, he wasn't happy with that, so he drove down to the town where I said I was going to be, and he went to the local hospital and asked to see me. Obviously, he found out I lied, and he's extremely upset with me. My ex-in-laws that I still get along with are so mad at me and want me to apologize for wasting his time. I don't believe I did anything wrong, because he would not take no for an answer, but they have said that I should have known how much he cares about me and not lied about being in a hospital, no matter how minor the fake illness was. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. You were just trying to set boundaries and he wouldn't take no for an answer. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do to avoid unnecessary drama. Your ex and his family need to respect your space. I'm so sorry to make you come outside in this heat. No, you're not. I hate when guests apologize when all they want to hear is, "No, you're totally fine," or "I don't mind." So yesterday I had one table outside. It was slow and hot, and my general manager doesn't have a spine, so of course he set a two-top outside when the patio was empty. They were also the only table to sit outside. The table was nice, but I just hate it when guests say things like, "I'm so sorry to make you stand out in this heat," or "I'm sorry for coming in so late," or "You guys must hate it when people ask to be seated so late." It drives me crazy. I just stared at these two after they said that for a couple of seconds, and then with a blank face I just said, "Okay," with a nod and a forced smile. They looked at me, then at each other, then at me, and I said, "What can I get for you?" My manager ended up telling me that the table said they were uncomfortable with me. I didn't mean to just drop the facade. I can usually hold on to it. But it's Saturday at 7 p.m. in the South in June. I worked 62 hours between 3 part-time jobs because I won't get benefits and juggling a thesis, and I have to open tomorrow at 6 a.m. 30 minutes away from home. Also, take it from me, don't get cancer and credit debt while pursuing a master's in America. And something about 2 grown men wanting me to coddle them and tell them it's okay while I can feel a bead of sweat falling down myself because I'm wearing all black with full coverage is aggravating. I don't know. You're not sorry, and I do mind, and I do want to be inside. I just wasn't in the mood, and hearing my tone was off made me want to quit. I don't know. I've been doing 3 jobs for 5 months, and I just can't take any more BS. But I'm almost done paying off a chunk of my debt, and I have a job with great benefits starting in July. I'm gonna miss the money, but I won't miss the people. Edit. People are also saying I should just do my job and shut up, and I did do my job. I gave them service and have given other outside table service. Complaining on Reddit about standing in the Mississippi heat is not the same as not having a good work ethic or not doing my job. But I'll tell you what my job isn't. It's not to coddle grown men or make people feel better about themselves when they are being inconsiderate. If they can acknowledge it, then so can you. My partner, 33 male, proposed to me, 28 female, as a joke in front of his friends. My partner and I have been together for almost 5 years. We live together, and I thought we were on the same page about our future. We were hosting a small get-together last night with some of his friends at our apartment. The night was going great. Towards the end of it, everyone started talking about relationships and marriage. His friends had been pushing him to propose for a while, so it wasn't a surprise when the topic came up. Out of nowhere, my partner gets down on one knee and pulls out this ring. He started this whole speech about how much he loves me and how he wants to spend the rest of his life with me. I was in shock and started crying tears of joy. This is something I've been dreaming about for a while now. Just as I'm about to say yes, he bursts out laughing and says, "Relax, babe, it's just a joke." His friends were laughing, and I was just standing there, completely shattered. He handed me this plastic ring, the kind you get out of a vending machine. I tried to play it off and laugh too, but inside I couldn't stand it. I felt so humiliated and hurt. After everyone left, I confronted him about it. He said that I was being too sensitive and that it was just a bit of fun. But it wasn't. I've always been serious about our future, and this felt like he was mocking my feelings in our relationship. He knows how much I care about this, and he turned it into a joke. The thing is, he didn't seem to understand why I was upset. He kept saying it was just a joke and I should lighten up. I love him, but this has really shaken me. How do I even start to explain to him how deeply this hurt me? Has anyone else been through something like this? Breaking up over a joke after 5 years together feels wrong to me, but I feel so hurt right now. Edit. I know what a prank is. He called it a joke, and I'm describing everything just as it happened. You love him, but he doesn't love you. Love requires respect, and he has none for you if he could do such a cruel thing. A fake proposal is not a joke, it's an intentional humiliation. He was laughing at you with his friends. You won't get him to feel remorse for how hurtful this was because hurting and embarrassing you was the point. I would take this as a sign for you to move on. This man will never marry you, and thank God for that, because a life with such a cruel person sounds miserable. I thought astronomy and astrology were the same thing. I might have ruined my relationship with my girlfriend. My girlfriend, 32 female, of almost 1 year, has a doctorate in astronomy. My sister, who's 35 female, has astrology as her biggest hobby. I, 33 male, thought that they were the same thing, and now I think I ruined my relationship with my girlfriend. I thought she and my sister had lots in common, but after she met my sister when I introduced her to my family, my girlfriend was angry. My sister was just confused, but my girlfriend furious. At first, she thought I was belittling her career by comparing it to astrology, which she says is completely fake. After I told her I honestly and truly thought they were the same thing, she got even more upset. She claims the only way I could think that was if I never listened to her. That's not true. They both have names that are almost the same, and they are both about space. My girlfriend says she has a doctorate, has worked in America at NASA and Europe at the space agency, and has written a lot of scientific papers, so her accomplishments should not be compared to someone who believes in astrology. My girlfriend has not spoken to me since that day that I introduced her to my family. She canceled our visit to her family so that I could meet them. She canceled our recent date, and she told me to figure it out when we argued after we left visiting my family. She said we were done, but it was in the heat of the moment. I admit I made a mistake. I honestly did not know they weren't the same thing, but I don't think it was a huge mistake. I think I have ruined my relationship with her. I swear I didn't know, and I didn't mean to upset her. You say you listened to her talk about her career in astronomy, and all you came away with was that it sounds like astrology and is about space? You keep calling her your girlfriend through this post. My dear fellow, let me tell you sincerely, you are as single as the lonely brain cell inside your head. I have 4 friends who work in the space industry, and they're some of the nicest people in the world, but if I ever compared what they do to astrology, I think they would dump me as their friend. They also worked for NASA and some of the biggest companies in Europe and Asia. Girlfriend is right that you don't listen though, because whenever I hear my friends talk about their work and what they're currently working on, it's not at all similar to astrology. I feel secondhand embarrassment for you, but honestly think your girlfriend deserves someone better. Not even someone necessarily smarter than you, but at least someone who listens when she talks about her job. As someone who is into both astronomy and astrology, I honestly don't see why everyone is ganging up on you. If someone isn't really interested in this stuff, then why should I expect them to know the difference between the two? Just like the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist. If someone just isn't into a topic, then what does it matter if they know the difference between these types of things that sound similar? Sometimes I think Reddit just likes to crap on people in order to feel better about themselves. I caught my girlfriend using dating sites behind my back. We've been together for about 1.5 years now. Last week, I went out to her place in the morning to surprise her with some food. We'd been fighting a bit, so it was going to be a full date day. She rolled over in bed, and I saw a message on her home screen saying, "You're such a beautiful girl. Why are you on dating sites?" So at this point, she had just woken up. Obviously, I'm pretty tense, and she asks me if I'm okay. I'm like, I'm not really sure. I just saw a message on your phone that said, "Why are you on dating sites? You're such a beautiful girl." She replies, "What are you talking about? That's crazy. I'm not on any dating sites." And then she ran to the restroom. She was in the restroom for quite a while and then finally comes out and goes, "Yes, I was on dating sites. We've been fighting a lot, but it's not like that. I just wanted to see what was out there." I left because I was in a pretty big panic. My ex prior to her that I was with for 10 years cheated on me constantly, and it destroyed me, so she knows how I feel about this kind of stuff. She texts me and says, "I didn't even cheat though. I would have never even met up with anyone or talked to anyone without telling you first and breaking up with you. I'm sorry that I downloaded it. I was just lost and hurting." We don't have an open relationship of any kind, and obviously she was talking to someone since that was over text, meaning she's been giving out her number. She keeps saying things like, "I'm sure it's all very worse in your head." I questioned her a bit more on it, and she said, "He was the only one I messaged. I matched with people and let my inbox fill up. I only responded to him because he's friends with Danny and Aaron." She keeps telling me it's worse in my head and I'm overreacting. I'm so torn apart. I love this girl, but after my ex, I promised myself I'd never put myself through that again. She says she doesn't want to lose me and will do whatever it takes. She said I can look through her entire phone now. Kinda late since she had a week to delete everything. So a few questions. Should I even give her another chance? Is this cheating? If I go through the phone and find obviously deleted messages, how should I respond? Is she trying to gaslight me? She just wants to hold on to you until she finds the next best thing. If you're having problems in a relationship, you should be focused on trying to find ways to make things better. You don't go on dating sites to see what's out there. How does that make your relationship better? She's already emotionally checked out. Let her go. If she keeps on justifying her actions and blaming you for overreacting, then you know it's over. She's trying out her other options while keeping you as the safe option. Based on her comment, without telling you first and breaking it off, once she finds a viable candidate, she'll just move ahead and dump you. Every single fight or argument you guys have from this point forward, you're going to wonder if she's cheating on you. It's not worth it. And like the other commenter said, she's holding on to you while keeping her options open, and no healthy relationship can grow from that. Am I the jerk for expecting my boyfriend to pay rent if he moves in with me? This is a doozy. I've been dating Josh for 1 year. I should say now that I, 24 female, don't ever want to be legally married, and Josh, 30 male, is divorced and doesn't want to remarry. We also live in a place where there is no common law marriage. Still, we want to take things a bit further, and we're talking about Josh and his 2 daughters moving in with me. I own a 3-bed, 2-bath house in a nice area. Josh rents a 2-bed, 1-bath apartment, and his lease is coming up. My mortgage is $1,000 a month, and Josh's rent is $1,400 a month. It was important to me that we would have everything figured out before making the change so that there would be no surprises or disagreements about who pays what. I figured it would be unreasonable for Josh to expect to just live with me for free, especially since I'd be giving up one of my rooms so his daughters could have a room. I suggested that Josh pay $700 a month to me in rent, half of what he's currently paying. I would cover the cost of any home repairs, internet, garbage, etc. Then we would split utilities, even though there's 3 of them and 1 of me. I don't mind splitting since that would be about what I'm currently paying, I predict. And since I meal prep once a week, I would just get my own groceries and he could get theirs. When I laid everything out, Josh was very unhappy and said that since it's my house, he shouldn't have to pay rent and that we should split groceries. I told him he was welcome to buy his own house and I would move in with him and happily pay rent while renting out my own house. He was mad at me because he said he's not in a position where he can buy a house. We can't come to an agreement, so I suggested he just find another apartment. The owners aren't letting him renew, and we could revisit the topic in a year. He's not happy with that either because rent prices have skyrocketed here, and 2 bedrooms now go for around $1,800 a month, and he thinks he won't be able to find a place he can afford. I'm a bit frustrated because I feel like $700 a month is a really good deal compared to the likely $1,800 he will have to pay. Since we aren't going to get married or anything, I don't understand why he thinks I would be okay with him living for free with his 2 kids. I'm happy to have romance and companionship, but shared assets and finances are not something I want in life. I don't want to support a man. Am I the jerk for expecting my boyfriend to pay rent? Edit. I showed Josh this post, and he thinks you are all wrong. So here's some input from him. Leslie makes $120,000 a year, and I make $30,000 a year. I'm living paycheck to paycheck, supporting 2 kids with no help from my ex-wife. It's gotten so expensive here that at this rate, I'm not even going to be able to feed my kids soon without going to the food bank. No matter what, they're going to get fed. But it's not fair that she owns a house and can go on vacations or spend $400 a month getting her hair done when I can't even buy my kids name brand cereal. She shouldn't charge me to live with her because she should understand that I want to be able to spend whatever I can giving my kids the childhood that they deserve. Not for me, but for them. Just 2 hours later. Update. Thanks, Reddit. Owe you one, and I'm glad I posted here. After a very loud and angry argument with Josh, I broke up with him. Despite pretty much everyone telling him he was wrong, Josh insisted that I should basically support the 3 of them because it's what would be best for his kids. He doesn't seem to understand that they aren't my kids, and no one is going to want to bankroll the 3 of them, at least no one with a brain. The point is, I'm young, good looking, I own a house. I can do better than a broke single dad who has no education and a crappy job who thinks it's okay to mooch off me and scream in my face when I tell him no. Hope your next girlfriend is stupid enough to put up with you, Josh. No wonder your ex-wife left you. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard.
Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.